He went to middle school in the British School of Brussels, Belgium, and high school in the International School of Bangkok, Thailand. He did his tertiary education in Virginia Tech, USA. Born in Helsinki, Finland, his father was second secretary in the Embassy of Malaysia, Moscow, the capital city of what was then the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic of Russia. On accompanying his Malaysian diplomat father and his mother, he and his siblings stayed for varying periods of time, roughly between 2 to 4 years, in Tokyo, Vientiane, Brussels, Bangkok, Bamako, Dhaka, and Rome. An avid reader, a prolific writer, an amateur musician, songwriter, some of the teachers bought your album too, and a football fan of Spurs and Real Madrid, but currently supporting Colombia in the World Cup and moaning about their appalling performance.
Martin, I hope they are doing well these days.
He is passionate about his interests, beliefs, and ideologies, and pursues them with conviction and single-mindedness. He has 2 sisters, Joanne, who now lives and works in the UK, and Sharon, who lives and works in the USA. He has 21 years of experience. He is married and has 3 children. One of them is here right now. He has 21 years of experience in journalism and is currently online Star News editor. It is now time to hear from my son, Martin Vengadesan.
Hello everyone. First of all, a promise, it won't be a long speech because I remember being an audience and I never really was fond of long speeches. I know I had your attention for just a short while and I'll try to make it count. And also I didn't know my mother was going to give that elaborate, embarrassing dialogue. Okay, my name is Martin, and unless you're an avid reader of the Star, you probably won't know who I am. I'm a news editor and I've spent most of my working life writing about either music or politics. I'm here really in part because of my mother. Because I'm not confident when it comes to speaking. I like writing and I like playing music, but I don't really like getting up on stage. But I was asked to speak by my mother, and she doesn't ask me for much. And so I decided, all right, I will do this. It's one of those compromises in life. You do things for people you love because of what they've done for you. So there are going to be some of you here, graduating students, who are really confident. You know what you want, you've done very well, you're going to go ahead in life and achieve great things. And I'm very happy for you. More power to you. You probably don't need that much of a pep talk from me. I, on the other hand, when I was in my graduation class, I was actually afraid. I think I was afraid of going out in the big bad world. And it seemed to me like all my classmates knew exactly what they wanted. They were 17 or 18 and you ask them, they've got all these big plans for the rest of their life. It sounds like they've got everything figured out, but I didn't at that time. And I think if you feel that way, I suppose I'm talking to you more than anyone else. In the next few years, you'll probably take a few steps in one direction. And at some point, you may find that that's not really the way in which you want to go. And you may find yourself having to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start again. Maybe move in another direction. I actually had a phase in my final year of graduation where I just didn't want to go to school anymore. I stayed at home, switched off the lights. I would have painted the room black if I could. I just said I didn't want to really study anymore, and I was afraid of going from Thailand to America, the other side of the world, and beginning life on my own. I also guess I wasn't that satisfied with the philosophies that are handed down to me. It was quite confusing. It was, on the one hand, it's believe in God, and also make a lot of money, and study very hard. But somehow none of those really resonated with me at that time. I think we had grown up in, I had grown up in many different parts of the world, and I'd seen an imbalance. We had very rich countries like Belgium, and also there was very poor countries, Mali, Laos. We saw people struggling, and I was kind of obsessed with righting this injustice in the world. But you can't, it's really quite hard to achieve as a 17 or 18-year-old, but it's something that you shouldn't give up on if you believe in it. So anyway, I did stumble after graduation. I got into a top 20 engineering college on a nice scholarship, but I kind of blew it. I went from studying engineering to philosophy, and when I went to philosophy, I thought it was going to help me explain what life is all about. But it didn't really work out that way. All I realized was that all I was able to learn was what Aristotle taught, and Socrates and Hegel, but I still had my own answers to find. Then I was redirected to accounting, and I spent 2 years trying to be a musician. Again, it's hard to believe, but I used to have hair down to here at that point. I joined a small opposition party in Malaysia. It had 0 seats in parliament. I even tried to sell insurance, and for a while I felt like a hopeless case. By the time I was 22, I watched my younger siblings go on to great things, and I felt like I was disappointing myself and my parents. And then one day, almost by chance, I found myself trying out a job that suited my personality and my skills. I became a music reporter, and everything fell into place. It had taken me 6 years between my high school graduation and my first day as a music reporter for me to finally find my feet. Now, that's my story. It doesn't have to be yours. Hopefully it won't take you only a couple of months. But finding the right job was the key for me to finding my place in the world. And I'm certainly not encouraging you to blow off your studies just because you can be sure you can land on your feet. I'm just letting you know that even if things don't go your way at first, it's not necessarily the end of the world. The truth is, education really is important. And unlike music reporting, if your passion is building bridges or conducting heart surgery, you're going to need to get through a lot of formal education before somebody even lets you try. At least I hope so. But take stock of this moment in time. Your life is at a crossroads. Aside from paper qualifications, you would have gained a lot of informal lessons just through being in this kind of progressive school environment. Exposure to other races, cultures, religions, and approaches to life. You should treasure that. Don't be so burdened by some of the expectations. And then don't get so excited by what's coming that you forget to appreciate what you're going through now. You will definitely look back one day and realize that this has been one of the best times of your life. In fact, I remember my first year of college, my friend, Fred and I were mourning about how difficult life was because of the pressure of our parents who wanted us to become engineers. 2 decades later, when I was talking to him, when my first son, Elish, was going through his 5th heart surgery, and his wife was terminally ill from multiple sclerosis, he said to me, I realize now how good we had it back then. We were teenagers, and all that was expected of us was to study. And that's another thing. Stay in touch with the friends you made here. Nurtured carefully, these friendships will last for life. Last year I traveled to the US, and I stayed with and met up with 9 of my best friends from college. And I often talk to and visit to friends from Bangkok and Brussels. I don't know if you're aware, but you actually have above average opportunities in life. This is a world in which 60% of people are engaged in a daily struggle to survive. The lives we have, all of us here, they're relatively privileged. And not everyone can maximize this opportunity. I believe you can. There's something I tell my children when they argue about fairness. You know, sometimes as a parent, your kids will think you pick one side over the other, and they say it's not fair. So and so can go on a trip to Italy and you can't send your kid. So I like to remind them that the world is a beautiful place and it's an ugly place. And it's not fair. Life is not fair. There's always somebody much better off, and there's always somebody much more worse off. You have to learn to see the beauty in the world and appreciate it. But don't blind yourself to ugly things that need to be challenged and corrected. And yes, we tend to compare ourselves to those around us. Siblings, cousins, classmates, later on colleagues. But you have to realize life is not a race against a lot of other people. It's a journey which will end one day. And you will, while you have partners along the way, the meaning of that journey is really down to you. You have to choose the meaning of your life. The causes that you deem worthy, the price you are willing to pay, what you want to do with your time. In fact, right now, you have all the time in the world. All the paths in the world are open to you. You have to choose what makes sense and what doesn't. What is worth investing in. You invest in, I suggest you invest in travel, you invest in relationships, and you invest in learning. I also advise you not to develop expensive tastes. Learn not to equate happiness with the accumulation of material wealth. To me, that's actually a worthless way to spend your life. Making a positive difference as a teacher, a scientist, an entrepreneur, that's really worth it. Changing the world for the better. And just a note, sometimes you can go back, you get to go back and tie up loose threads. Like my fledgling music career, my hair is long gone, but I was able to, thanks to my contacts as a journalist, and you know nowadays technology has changed, so I've been able to resurrect my music career, do what I really want. And that small opposition party I joined in 1995, well, we merged into another one, and now we are the largest party in the ruling coalition, which you could never have seen happening 25 years ago. I think you have to have big dreams to make this life worth living. And you have to figure out how to make those big dreams, how to break it down into small, achievable steps. And I'm sure you will. When I was asked to speak, I actually panicked at one point. And I started to study different funny and meaningful graduation speeches online. But by the third one I watched, I said to myself, forget it. Let me trust my own voice and tell my own story. And folks, that's what you will have to do. Write your own stories in this life. And make sure that one day when you're middle-aged and addressing a crowd like this, make sure that you yourself have stories that are worth retelling. Okay, I think I've taken up enough of your time. Enjoy this happy day and have a great life ahead.